It has been a snowy and cold first half of the winter season. Will that translate over into the second half? To answer your question, we're going to be going through a detailed second half of your winter forecast. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. My name is Hunter. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow along with all of my detailed daily weather breakdowns on this channel. Like the video, give it a thumbs up, and share this video with friends, family, and on social media. I definitely appreciate it. Let's look here at the Nino index. We are actually in a weak La Nina so far, as you can see at minus 1.3. And to be classified as a La Nina, you have to be at negative 0.5 or lower. For an El Nino, you got to be at positive 0.5 or higher. In between those, you are in an ENSO-Neutral. So clearly, we are in a weak La Nina right now. And taking you over to the equatorial Pacific, looking at the water temperatures in a colder phase, that is La Nina. A warmer phase is El Nino, and kind of a mix of both is ENSO-Neutral. You can see we're in a colder phase right now, so La Nina is kind of ruling the roost out here. And looking at the probabilities provided to us by the Climate Prediction Center, we are likely to be at over 80% likely to be in a weak La Nina going through February, and then getting to a 58% by the time we go into March, kind of trending closer towards those neutral conditions. So the second half of winter may be a little bit different than the first half. Let's kind of walk you through what we've already seen so far to this point in winter. Since December 21st, winter solstice, it's been a cold one across the central and the eastern United States here. You can see a lot of blues on the map. That indicates below normal temperatures. The orange and reds on the map, those are above normal temperatures, and the redder you get, the more above normal you are. And notice up into Canada, we are well above normal. That's because we started winter pretty mild up there since we turned colder. But looking here at the snowfall since December 21st, winter solstice, we've had all 50 states at least seeing snowfall at some shape or form. Others have seen more than others. Definitely, I understand that. But winter is going to be continuing as we go through the rest here of January. Let's kind of walk you through the height anomalies going through the rest of the month. Here's your tropospheric polar vortex in eastern Canada. That's what brought all of our cold Arctic air into the country, all the way to the Gulf Coast in Florida. And that's what brought our winter storm potential as well. And colder air is drier air. So that's what drove our storm track further south. But it's departing, it's moving east. We got a ridge building in across the middle of the country. That will promote above normal temperatures and actually really a nice weather pattern to end the month of January. Cut off low pressure down here in blue in Southern California. That will be important mainly for precipitation purposes. We'll get to that in a moment, but let's look at our temperature anomalies. Trending here is the ridge. We're going to be starting to see moderating temperatures across the middle of the country to close out the month of January. While it's not going to be, balmy out there, 70 degrees in the Twin Cities or anything, it's definitely going to be a stark contrast to what we just got over with our Arctic highs. And you can see the Arctic air still hanging out in the northeast. That also will be departing into the northern Atlantic over time as well. We have a little bit of some cooler air to the desert southwest too. Let's look at the general storm track as we go through the rest of January. Notice it's going to be very active up here in Alaska in Western Canada, also very active down here into the deep south. And that is our main storm track, is to the north up here in Alaska over top of that ridge that's developing, that's moderating our temperatures, and then kind of a clipper storm track with some snow opportunities for the provinces of Canada and the upper Great Lakes, keeping the lake effect snow machine going. And then the cutoff low from the main jet stream, more on the subtropical jet here, southern stream dominated, and we can see a little bit of more precipitation in Southern California. And that significantly could help our wildfire conditions, even just a little bit of rain. And then that will trend a little stronger across the deep south as we have the Gulf of America moisture and also the Pacific Ocean moisture as well, kind of feeding together for heavier rains further to the south. Notice in between, we're going to be dry. It's not going to be completely dry in these areas. There will still be precipitation, but overall, when you average out the rest of January in these areas in between, we're just not seeing a lot of moisture opportunities opportunities because the jet stream further north and then the jet stream further south, kind of acting like a highway for storms. So here's the snowfall through the rest of January. The active Clipper storm track will remain up into Canada. Very heavy snows, by the way, in Alaska and western Canada for Yukon down there in the western coastline of British Columbia, and a little bit of snow for the Cascades, especially in Washington state as well. We have some moisture moving into the Rockies that could give us some higher elevation snows. Otherwise, really the rest of the month will be dominated by lake effect snow and maybe a coastal snowstorm or two over here into the Northeast and New England. Let's walk this over into February, okay? This is a very stormy look on the height anomaly map. We have a trough over here in Western Canada. If you remember, in December and early January, that trough was over here in Eastern Canada. So we're going to retrograde that further west. That kind of backs up the pattern a little bit, and we have a ridge of high pressure building across the southern and southeastern United States and up the East Coast. What that will do is promote milder temperatures here across the south and across the east, and a colder air with that trough, more so in Alaska and Western Canada. And we have enough cold air, if we have a strong enough storm system to tap it into, we could have some of that cold air being pulled down into places like the Dakotas, maybe Nebraska, and into the Central Plains, the upper Midwest. So the cold air risks in February are more to the north. So we actually expect more the upper Midwest, the northern and Central Plains, the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and interior Northeast New England regions to be having more significant cold air risk as we go through February. It's going to be a very variability in this pattern. Ahead of a lot of these storm systems, we're going to see a lot of warmer air followed by colder air. Now let's look here at the precipitation anomaly for February. Very noisy here on the ensemble and the seasonal outlook. You can see across the Pacific Northwest, very active, and then downstream from that into parts of the eastern and northeastern United States in general, drying out a little bit more compared to normal along the Gulf Coast here and down across the deep south. Here's the most dominant storm track we'll see as we go into February. We have more systems coming in off the Pacific into the West Coast and the Pacific Northwest. Those will dive southeast toward the Texas Panhandle before lifting up here across the Ohio Valley. Northwest side of that track, we're looking for heavy snow and ice storm potential. On the southeast side of that track, heavier rain and severe weather potential as we have some of that mild air as we go in towards especially the second half of February. So let's look here at the snowfall. February could be still a very snowy, very cold month to the north, so don't let this fool you. If you haven't seen a lot of snow up here in the upper Midwest, the northern plains and Great Lakes yet, you definitely will have some opportunities, and several opportunities at that as we go through the month of February. The snows in the mountainous areas of the Cascades, the Sierras, and the Rockies will be rocking and rolling too, and the Great Lakes. That'll continue into February. Now, as we extend over into March, as we finish off the winter season in general, we're going to see that blue blob in Western Canada kind of migrate more toward the Arctic, which that means it'll pull a lot of the colder air further north with it, and that ridge will try to build further north too, and you can see a lot more orange trying to pull up towards the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast. Not as much of a cold air risk to the north, and any cold air risk that we do have will be brief, and then will likely be further north. So that will mainly be tied to the Pacific Northwest, the Northern Plains, the upper Midwest, and upper Great Lakes region, otherwise just Canada in general, when you average out the month there of March. Looking at precipitation, March also has a look that will be very active as well for the Pacific Northwest, and then a secondary area around the Mississippi Valley up toward the Great Lakes, and this could promote two different storm tracks. One of them in March here from the West Coast, kind of like we see in February, but not kind of making its way down southeast. These will kind of turn up more towards the northern Rockies and away up here towards the upper Midwest. The secondary storm track will be from Texas up here through the Mississippi Valley and into the Tennessee, Ohio Valley, and into the Northeast. On the northwest side of the track, we still may have enough cold air to tap into, especially if we have heavy snows in February to lay down. That could bring a little bit colder air than expected down into the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and Great Lakes, bringing some snow risks there with ice storm potential, and then on the southeast side of that, more heavy rain and severe weather potential. So a very active second half of the winter season ahead. Don't give up hope on winter just just yet. It has a long ways to go, plenty of gas in the tank, that is for sure. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll have another forecast video for you late tomorrow morning, early tomorrow afternoon, and then likely again tomorrow evening. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, follow along with all of my detailed weather breakdowns on this channel. Turn on the post notification bell so you are notified for future videos and live streams. Like the video by giving it a thumbs up. I definitely appreciate that. And also, if you would share the video with friends, family, and on social media, I definitely appreciate that as well. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those after the video, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Wednesday out there.